Yes. Good evening, everyone, to the first session, the online lecture series of MA English, RTM Nagpur University, based on the NEP, with seven collaborating institutes coming together. That is Department of English, PGTD, RTMNU Nagpur, SBCT College Nagpur, Rajkumar, Kewalramani, Kanya Mahavidyalaya of MA English, RTM Nagpur University. Institute of Arts and Social Sciences, J.M. Patel College, Bhandara, R.S. Mundle Dharampeth Arts and Commerce College, and Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Nagpur. All these collaborating colleges have come together to organize this research methodology workshop. And today, to do the honors, the first session is on the overview of research methodology. The resource person with us is a very well-known person in the field of English in our fraternity, Dr. Prantik Banerjee, sir. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of all the collaborating colleges. A very brief and formal introduction of sir. He's a professor of English, Hislop College, Nagpur. His publications include 8 books, 10 chapters in books, 41 research papers, and his recent books are A Handbook of Research in English Studies, Teaching of Culture and Culture of Teaching, Cultural Studies, Texts and Contexts, Theory and Praxis, Discourses in Literature and Culture. And Theory and Praxis is also listed as a reference book in the University of Columbia, New York. His writings are prescribed as textbooks and reference books in various universities. He has been a member of the syllabus design committee of several universities. His writings have been published in several anthologies. Sir himself is a poet, a creative writer, a short story writer, and his writings have been published in Sahitya Academy's Indian Literature and the other magazines also. He is former member of Board of Studies, RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur. He's an external expert on the Board of Studies of Homi Bhabha State University, subject expert for VJ Vazeg Autonomous College, Mumbai, and n number of things which are enlisted in this bio note. Sir, I once again welcome you to this platform and request you to carry on.
Thank you. Thank you, Pranjali. Thank you so much. So it looks like we have what? We are joined by 37 participants, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And I believe these are all students of the master's program, MA English, of the 7 participating colleges. 7 or 6?
It's 7, sir.
7. Oh, all right. 7 is a good number. 7 is a lucky number. So, first of all, thank you to the collaborative colleges. Thanks to the organizing committee, especially thanks to the principals who have initiated this project. Just a couple of opening remarks. It's not just a kind of a perfunctory remark when I say that the collaborative or participating colleges need to be congratulated for this initiative. I say this with complete sincerity and earnestness of purpose because under the NEP MA English program, the new English program, the revised syllabus, it has a paper on research methodology. This is in our university. I don't know whether there are students from other universities also who are participating. In fact, I have taken the liberty to share the link for today's talk, today's lecture, with some of my university professors, college teachers across the country. So maybe some of them may have also joined. So I begin with a confession of having not taken prior permission, but I suppose that's okay because the more minds we have, the more minds with which we connect, the better the outcome of a program such as this. Anyway, so I say this, I say it's a good initiative on the part of the participating colleges to do what they are doing, starting with my opening session, which is more like an introductory session on research. Because under the MA NEP New English syllabus, there is a compulsory paper, it's a mandatory paper, it's a core paper on research writing, research methodology, and research writing. And I think, it's actually a good step to introduce a paper such as this at the very first semester, at the level of first semester, because the sooner we make the building blocks, the sooner we lay the foundation for our master's degree students, who, especially those who wish to not only take this paper, but also who wish to pursue a career in teaching, research, and academics. I think this will be very, very productive and useful. Well, so having said this, I mean, you see, we talk about, when we are talking about research, I think we are joined, mostly the audience today are MA students, and it is to them that I am going to take them for the next hour or so on some of the basic things that we need to know about research. You have, I think, 5 or 6 more sessions following this, where the resource persons are likely to deep dive into the various details of research in the 5 or the 4 units that are prescribed in the Nagpur University syllabus. But what I'm going to do is not really limit or restrict myself to the syllabus here. Once again, thanks to the organizers, I've been given the license and the liberty to talk about some of the general principles of research. Basically, when I say some of the general principles of research, I wish to address my students. I wish to engage with our students, primarily of our university, I think, first of all, trying to get rid of this very fear, this phobia about research. Friends, my young friends, my student friends, whether you continue to do your research in English, pursue probably your PhD in English or not, whether you make a career in research or in academics, that doesn't really matter. But I think one of the first steps in getting into this paper, in studying or getting excited about research, is first of all to get rid of a few myths and to get rid of the fear of research itself. You see, to my young students who are what we call the millennials, the Gen Z, needless to say, you all are immersed in social media. I mean, perhaps you are more comfortable, you are as native and comfortable with technology, and therefore you have no fear of technology. Let's say someone like me, unlike somebody like me who has a fear of technology. After all, I'm a digital migrant compared to you digital natives. But we've got over it. I've got over it. And like me, many senior teachers have also got over it. So I suppose if we can get over the fear of technology, you could also overcome your fear of research. So all of you are on social media, and much of your waking moments, your waking time, shall I say, if not 24/7, you are, it's taken up. Your waking time is taken up by what you do, mostly online. Posting on Facebook. You post on Facebook. You upload. You kind of upload. What's the word? You upload reels on Instagram. You WhatsApp. You keep WhatsApping your friends. Maybe some of you, those of you who have a Twitter, you have a Twitter handle, so you keep doing that. And basically, you love, as a millennial, you love to make stories and update status on these various social platform tools. So imagine in your English classroom, well, it happened in my classroom also, so I'm sharing this with you. Imagine in your English classroom the other day, your teacher complained about how much time you spent on social media. Why teachers, even parents complain. I'm sure there are many a times that your father, your mother, you would have pulled you up for being absolutely, immersed in your smartphone. But coming back to that classroom scenario, whether it is imaginary or real, as it was in Hislop, in my college, Islip College, what followed when I kind of stuck a conversation with my students, saying, I think one of the reasons why reading is such a dying habit with you all, you just don't read enough. Why? Because you're doing something or the other. You're texting all the time on smartphones. So what followed in my class was a rather animated discussion with my own students on whether social media was a blessing or a curse. The kind of thing that you and I, not you, maybe I wrote an essay in school called Science, a Boon or a Bane. So, but then the response that I got from my students, I mean, like you, maybe you might have got enthused into this classroom debate and you decided to write an article on the subject that you were talking about, very, very animatedly, in your for your college magazine. Your teacher would have said that, what, let's carry this debate and this discussion forward. And what you said in class, let's turn it into a article for a college magazine, your college magazine. So, so what did you do? Well, you started by searching on the net for some material. And so what did you do? Of course, you would have gone to Professor Google. So you would have found it. And then the minute you would have, searched for your topic on what, remember the topic I said, is social media a curse or a blessing for young students? So on Googling, what you actually did was to find yourself lost in an ocean of information on the net. You found yourself lost in, mile-long threads on Quora's discussion board. And then you realize that perhaps the best way to start on your writing on your topic or research or seeking information on your topic was not to look up really everything on the net, which anyway is an impossible task, but it actually forced you, seeing the ocean of information, this infodemic that's there on the net, it kind of forced you to think that, what, I'm not going to look everything that is there out on the net. I'm going to start by putting up a question, a very, very specific question on my next Google search. So what did you do? Well, you put this question for Professor Google. What is the impact? What is the impact of social media on communication skills of, let's say, MA Sem1 students? What is the impact of social media on the communication skills of MA Semester 1 students? Notice what you did was that rather than searching on the net, which you started out by searching on what? Searching on, is social media a curse or a blessing? Now, look at the question that you are popping up. You're posing, Professor Google. You said, what is the impact of social media on the communication skills of not just everybody, but the target group is you and your fellow students of MSM1 students. Aha, welcome to the world of research. You've just taken the first baby step towards research. What did you do? Well, you made a question, you refined your question, you put up a question that was very, very specific and very, very precise. And it is by doing so, by making the subject of seeking information something that is very specific, something that is very precise, that you have taken the first baby steps to research, one that will probably in the long run take you to your eureka moment. So friends, let me begin today's session by saying that the most important thing in research is to ask questions. Asking the right question or questions, asking the right question or questions is more important, because when you ask the right questions, asking the right questions leads you to identify a problem worthy of research and sets you off to finding answers or solutions to that problem. Let me repeat what I just said. I said research is the art of asking questions, and not just any questions. asking the right question. That is more important, because when you ask the right question, it leads you to identify a problem, a certain kind of problem, and what kind of problem, something that is worthy of research, and sets you off. It kind of flags you off on this line of inquiry, this mode of investigation, whose end result will be you finding some answers or solutions to that question with which you started your research journey. All right. Oh, let me quickly share my screen. There are a couple of things that I do want to show you. Do let me know if my slides are visible.
It's visible, sir.
Great. All right. Okay. This is a good slide to take 30 seconds of your attention again. Why? Not because it has my name on it. It's kind of defining. Let's take a simple definition. I start today's presentation by giving a very simple definition of what is research. What you have on your slide, the art of asking, what I just said a minute back, the art of asking right questions to find right answers. This is research, to put it very, very simply. All right. Since who we have here on this platform are mostly students, I love to quiz students. Take a minute to look at these slides, or rather the images on the slides. Well, no prizes for guessing, because obviously the gentlemen, the four people in the slide, in the photographs, are all, something is common. Isaac Newton.
Can you please start the slideshow so that the whole screen will be quite visible to the students?
Can you see that?
No, sir.
Well, I've started the slideshow.
Okay.
No, can you see the slide? What do they have in common? A slide
Yes,
that is
titled. That's visible. That's visible, sir.
Okay, on my computer, it's full slide.
Okay. We'll go ahead, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. So you have these four people: Isaac Newton, Henry Ford, Edward Jenner, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Remember what I said? Doing research is asking questions. What is common to these four people out here? Well, think about Isaac Newton and think about the fantastic story, the fiction, whether it is fact or fiction, well, that doesn't really matter. But think about, the minute we think of Isaac Newton, we think of an apple fall. He's sitting under a tree and an apple falling on his head. So, Isaac Newton discovered the laws of gravitation, if this is what the science story is, by asking, why does an apple fall down and not go up? The next gentleman, Henry Ford. He was a famous American industrialist and founder of the Ford car company. When he was he wanted to manufacture more cars, speed up the process of manufacturing. He kind of, he did that. He invented something called the assembly line by simply changing a question from how do we get the people to the work to how do we get the work to the people? How do we get the people to the work to, he changed it to, how do we get the work to the people? And that is what the assembly line is. People don't have to move. The assembly line takes the different parts and components of a car and moves it along the conveyor belt. The next gentleman, Edward Jenner. Jenner, thanks to him, we have a vaccine for smallpox. So he discovered the vaccine for smallpox by changing a very simple question, changing a question from, why do people get smallpox, to, why don't milkmaids get smallpox? And then you have this Nobel Prize winning writer, very famous Latin American novelist named Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He kickstarted his literary career by asking, What happens if I combine magic with realism in telling a story, in writing a story? Friends, what I wish to uh, point out to you by giving you these four uh, people from different ages and related to, and not related to any of their disciplines, and not even related to literature, at least the first three. What I wish to point out is that the greatest of philosophers, the greatest of scientists, the best of writers, they wouldn't have become what they became if they had not asked, if they had not started the journey of the imagination, or the journey of discovery, if they had not started out on that journey by not asking the right questions, if they didn't see a problem where nobody saw one before, if they didn't ask why instead of how. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is, the moot point I'm trying to make is that you have, other than these are just four, representative examples, but other than these examples, you can think of any scientist, any artist, any novelist, any painter. Uh, all of them start by asking a question. They get curious because asking a question gets them to be inquisitive, to get curious, and that flags off their journey, their remarkable journey. So, research, therefore, I say that research is also asking, the art of asking right questions and finding the right answers. Of course, you might, if you ask me, isn't there a more dictionary kind of definition? Um, uh, well, there is, but before that, I wish to take you in small steps. So simply put, if you ask me what is research, I've already given you one working definition, that research is the art of asking questions and finding answers. If you ask me to give you another definition, well, here is another simple definition, that research is, the purpose of research is to discover what we do not know. As simple as that. If you want me to give you a dictionary or a textbook definition, then I would say that research is a systematic. Now, I'm using some big words here. Um, that research is a systematic and organized inquiry. It is conducted to generate, new knowledge, deepen our understanding of some existing phenomena, or even research, I would say, is to solve problems through the application of some rigorous methods and techniques. In short, academically, you could say that if you were to try and explain what is research, it's a process of exploring. It's a process of exploring. It's a process of investigating uh, truths that we have, truths that remain undiscovered, facts that remain uncovered. So, the purpose of research, the aim and objective of research is, to make a hunch, or what we call a hypothesis, to test a hypothesis, and then to contribute by plugging a gap in the existing body of knowledge in a particular field. In our case, it is the field of literature. So, is this book your moe moe? Student friends, is this book your moe moe? Have you seen the shackle of this book?
So the slide is not moving.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Now it is there.
Okay. So my Windows program seems to want to minimize me rather than to maximize. So, but I'm glad. But is this slide now visible? Is this
Yes.
book? Yeah. So is this book your friends? Is this book your moe moe? I'm sure you. I'm sure moe moe. I mean, it's all there on social media. Have you seen the shackle of this book? Let me see if there are some chats out here. Okay, we can see slide 3. Okay, Hmm. All right. And so, I take it for granted that your answer is yes and no. Well, um, if I told you that this is the book that is prescribed as a textbook for paper 6, will it surprise you? I mean, even teachers can come in because
There
many
are
of
many
you.
yes answers and many no answers also. I do know this is a prescribed book.
So don't judge a book by its cover. Uh, Go inside and look into the book because sooner or later, I mean, why later? I think your semester 1 exams are around the corner. The university will announce its dates very soon. And this is the book that you need to study from in order to find all the answers to the questions to the questions that the university is going to ask you in your paper. So this is the book. If you have not yet looked into the book, I suggest you do so. And yeah, never mind that the fellow on the back cover has a striking resemblance to me. So so don't judge the book by its back cover. Okay, let's move ahead. This is to repeat. To repeat is to recall, and to recall is to uh, make you to act. So this is the textbook for the university syllabus. Coming back to what I said was an academic definition of what is research. But I kind of like the last one, which is within quote, that the art of research is the art of asking new questions. Um, all right. Once again, I often, whether it is with students in a research class, whether it is doing a paper, let us say, on Victorian literature or post-colonial literature, or for that matter, when I'm doing a workshop for research scholars and teachers I, I like to break down the very process of research into four easy to understand steps. So if you ask me, students, what is research again, never mind the complicated definitions, some very lengthy ones that are there, both in my textbook as well as on the net. But research, if you were to break it down into four simple steps, this is what I would call that topic. Step one, topic X is important. Step two, a lot of research has already been done on it. Step three, however, nevertheless, no work has been done on the why aspect of it. And step four, this study, this paper, this assignment, the assignment that you will be writing for this particular paper, examines the why aspect. Now, I say this because if you look at these four steps, and then you study a textbook on research, you will find that step one essentially is the subject that you begin with, your area of interest, what we call your area or your topic. Although topic and area, there is a slight difference between topic and area. Topic is more specific. Topic is uh, more uh, more more precise in its purpose and scope. So step one basically is your area of interest, one that you will be investigating, one that you will be analyzing, doing research on. Step two, a lot of research has been done on it. You see, research, friends, is an ongoing conversation. When you want to write, when something gets you curious and you ask a question, that question itself makes you enter into a conversation with all those others who have asked similar questions, same questions or similar questions in the past, and have found many answers, but not all. And so asking a question in step two, for example, once you select a particular topic in step two, which says a lot of research has been done on it, you get to know what others have said or others have written on your area of interest, on the topic of your choice. So you enter into a dialogue, you enter into a conversation with everybody else who has written something on a common topic, on a shared subject. So this is step two. In research, we call it actually a literature review, but I won't go into the details. I'll leave it for your other sessions. Third, for me, this step is the most important. It's a fundamental step in research, the one that has, however, although nevertheless, no work has been done on the why aspect of it. Look, so um, I mean, everybody, not everybody, but many of us, at least MA students, have read Shakespeare, and teachers have read Shakespeare. We do Shakespeare in the classroom. And then we read a whole lot of reference books and critical commentary on Shakespeare. But then to believe that, well, we have done Shakespeare to death, that we have buried Shakespeare and all that can be said and written about Shakespeare under a tome, under libraries and libraries of previous research is a myth. It is a blunder. So there is always something new to be found out about Shakespeare, and I will come to that a little in a while, in a few minutes. But the thing is that the minute in the course of your own study of Shakespeare, once you have gone back to what others have said about Shakespeare, sometimes, and many a times it is by accident, by sheer providence that you stumble upon something that has not been done before. You come upon something new that nobody, no writer, no researcher, no scholar has yet found out about Shakespeare. Well, that's your eureka moment, because now you've come on to something new, entirely new, something that has not been said or written about Shakespeare before. And this is what we call filling the gap in research, identifying a gap, and then the next step. This study examines the why aspect. Once you have identified the gap, meaning the new perspective that you seek to pursue, the fourth one is to do what you have decided to do, meaning the actual uh, uh, referencing your sources and writing a semester essay, a semester assignment, writing a research paper that you wish to publish in a journal, or for that matter, earn your PhD by doing a more extensive thesis. So these, friends, are the four simple steps, or rather, these are the four steps. They are not simple, but I say you can break down the complex process of doing research into these four simple steps. Okay. All right. You think of the fundamental elements of research. If research is asking question, well, that's the first step, the first element of research, asking a question or identifying a problem. And then you are talking about formulating a hypothesis, reviewing literature, making claims and substantiating them, collecting evidence, writing and citing, presenting and publishing. Well, um, I said 7 is a lucky number, and these are the 7 fundamental elements that make research. And in fact, they actually take you through the step-by-step process. So remember I said you start your research journey by asking a question, because asking a question leads you to identify a problem. Then identifying a problem, then you come to formulating a hypothesis. Now, this is interesting. When the word hypothesis, anything that is not yet a thesis is hypothesis. Anything that is not a thesis, which means anything that is not proven as a fact, is a hypothesis, which means a hypothesis is a guess, a hunch, something that you speculate, something you think seems right, but now you have to go and move forward in order to prove with evidence and arguments that it is right. So hypothesis, the very nature of hypothesis, is something that is speculative. Something that is hypothetical means something that is guesswork or speculative or tentative in nature. All right. I don't know whether you have read Hemingway. Think of a very, very popular and well-known Hemingway short novel, like The Old Man and the Sea. So when you read The Old Man and the Sea, time and again, as you went through the story, you found that, that there are hardly any human, other than Santiago and, a few other characters like Manolin. Other than a few human characters, most of the narrative seems to have, characters are not human characters. The whole story seems to be filled with uh, uh, animals. Animals, well, marine animals mostly. So you have the fish and the shark and the marlin, of course, not forgetting that big fish after which the old man Santiago sets out where no man has sailed, no fisherman has ever sailed before. And in order to, so you look at these recurrence, the repetition or the repeated appearance of these animals or these the fish and the shark and the marlin, and you begin to suspect that is it possible that Hemingway might have actually used this animal imagery in the telling of the story for something deeper, something more significant. Well, remember, how did I pop up this question? You begin to think. You begin to think, meaning it's very, very guess. It's still not, you're not sure. It's very, very tentative. You are speculating. There's a hunch. And so, you kind of put your thought in a single statement on the page. You say, does Hemingway use the marlin, the sea, the sharks in the old man, in his novel, The Old Man and the Sea, as symbols? As symbols. So, which means you have already narrowed down the area of interest in the interpretation of Hemingway's story to something very specific. You're looking at the imagery. And imagery, you are not sure how Hemingway, the writer, has used the imagery, but your hunch is, your guess is that he may have used it for deeper reasons, not just to populate the story, not just to bring in a fish and a shark and a this and a that to make the story interesting. Well, that is your hypothesis. That is something that is tentative. That is something that you will work upon by going back to the text and reading a lot about what other experts, other commentators, other researchers have said about the text in order to move your research forward. So these are the 7 fundamental principles of research. I'll quickly come to something. So hypothesis, remember, that one of the most, the starting point of research is to formulate a hypothesis. How do you formulate your hypothesis? Even before that, you ask a question. A leading question leads you to identifying a problem. Investigating the problem, reading about the problem leads you to, let's say, to the Hemingway story. I'm giving you taking the example of Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea a little more in a detailed way. And so then by your reading of Hemingway's story, you begin to ask questions saying, is it possible? Does Hemingway use this animal imagery for some deeper significance, for some more important, meaningful play? And you say, well, that is your hypothesis. So a hypothesis is characterized by 3 things. It is specific. You just narrowed your topic. You're not going to be examining Hemingway's novel in all its dimensions, in all its aspects, but you will be examining his use and his use of animal imagery. So that makes it specific. It's predictive. Remember, you started by saying that, is it possible? Well, looking at a possibility. It may not be true, it may not be false, but until true or false, you have to prove it. So it is predictive in nature, it is speculative in nature. And then finally, it has to be testable. A hypothesis can only turn into a conclusion once it is proved. In literature studies, how do you prove that your hypothesis is conclusive, is definitive? Well, you prove it by supporting, let's say, by giving a close reading of the text and citing examples from the passages itself. Or you go to what other commentators have said, who have examined the use of imagery in the same novel and who have perhaps pointed out to a different dimension of the Hemingway story, of the same dimension of the Hemingway story. Anyway, so hypothesis, therefore, in research is specific, predictive, testable. By the way, let me remind you that so far, I've been, although the example that I gave you is of Hemingway, but basically the elements and the constituent elements of research is applicable to all disciplines, which means what I have said up till now is equally applicable to humanities as it is applicable to the physical sciences or the social sciences. All right. So let's make it very specific. What is literary research? Well, you're doing a MA in English literature, and you say there is a paper on research methodology. We are not interested so much in research methodology used by scientists, by a physicist or a chemist or a mathematician. Our area of interest is something very different. The text and the body of writings that we do are something very different. We don't have to wear a lab coat and dissect a frog in order to find out what Hemingway was trying to do in The Old Man and the Sea. So, what makes research literary? All right. A simple way again, to describe what is literary research would be to explain it as a process of exploring different aspects or different dimensions of a piece of literature. Whether it is a play, a short story, a novel, a poem, etc. So the inquiry, this kind of inquiry, an inquiry which is mostly interpretative, and qualitative in nature. This inquiry may be about an author, the time and the age in which he lived and the work that he created, or you may want to do research literally. If you would want to make your research literary by examining, let's say, some of the themes and the ideas that perhaps Hemingway put in his stories, like The Old Man and the Sea. You might even be interested in finding out what technique and style did a particular writer use in the telling of a story. What makes Hemingway's storytelling so very different, let us say, from a Steinbeck or an Edgar Allan Poe, for instance? Or what are the unique qualities of a Hemingway storytelling method? Well, many of us who are familiar with Hemingway's work would immediately point out one word: journalistic. Hemingway's style of storytelling is journalistic, which means condensing the maximum of meaning in the minimum of sentences. His style is a minimal style. And so you would like to perhaps examine Hemingway's journalistic style as reflected in his fiction. So this is what makes our research literary. But then, so as an MA student, you might want to know why, while doing Shakespeare's Hamlet, you might want to know why Hamlet procrastinates so much. You might want to know why the heck does Hamlet take so much of time in coming to a decision. Kill his uncle, that is. Or you might want to know when you did Emily Dickinson's poetry, you asked yourself, hey, why is it that Emily Dickinson uses so many images of death and dying and funeral and hearse processions in her poetry? If you were a little more serious kind of researcher, and there are plenty of scholars, some of whose works that you see on this slide: The Road to Xanadu by John Livingston Lowes, The Elizabethan World Theatre, Renaissance Self-Fashioning. So serious scholars, well, you're too young, but if you looked at certain classics of literary research, well, the three works that you see on the slide are examples of not classic literature, but classic research done on literature. So, when I was doing my master's in literature, my MA in literature, well, I studied this particular book at the center, E.M.W. Tilliard's. He not only wrote this book, The Elizabethan World Picture, but basically he wrote books like Shakespeare's historical plays, Shakespeare's problem plays, all of it, very, very scholarly, very, very academic. But common to they were all research based. He was the similarity, what is similar in all these three books written by Tilliard, was that he was trying to give us, trying to relate what Shakespeare wrote to the times in which he wrote. He was trying to locate Shakespeare's work, Shakespeare's plays, in the socio-political and cultural conditions of his age. In other words, he was trying to historicize, he was trying to read his play in a historical way. Well, that's very serious scholarship, and you need lots and lots of patience and lots of, hard work, stamina as well. But then, what is the purpose? How did Tilliard's research, scholarly works on Shakespeare help me as an MA student? Well, it helped me to understand Shakespeare's play in a much better way. Why? Because by reading his books, I got to know the many peculiar features of the socio-political context of the Elizabethan age, that is the 16th century England. And so, knowing about the age, knowing about Elizabeth's time, or knowing about Shakespeare's time, I could find many more meanings in my reading of Shakespeare's plays. So this is this is what we call literary research. But then, you see, today, as times have changed, the literariness, the word literariness in literary research, what is literary in research, has become more and more interdisciplinary. In other words, what I'm saying is that the word literary in research, or literature, or literary research, or research in literature itself is becoming more and more redefined, because it is becoming more and more interdisciplinary. What makes it interdisciplinary? For example, let me move the slide and you will get what I'm saying. Literary research has also encompassed, it has embraced films, for instance. To be more specific, if you like Shakespeare, if you liked reading Shakespeare's plays, then maybe you would like the performance of his plays in films much better. Or even, let me go to the extent of saying that if you have read Shakespeare and if you have watched a movie, or you've seen the play staged in the theater, then perhaps you would like the adaptations, the cinematic adaptations of Shakespeare's plays done by Vishal Bhardwaj. And if watching Vishal Bhardwaj's plays, adaptations of Shakespeare's plays, gets you excited and writing an article for the college magazine, it kind of motivates you to make your first research essay. Well, you have just expanded, you have just pushed the meaning of the word literariness, because today in the word literary in research it can mean not only literature, by that I mean the novels and the plays and the poems, but it also means films, it means advertisements, it means comic books, it means memes, MEMES, it means artificial intelligence, technology, chatbots, etc., etc. So, in other words, anything that makes a meaning in today's world, whether you're talking of culture or popular culture or literature and art, well, is considered to be research worthy even in the field of literature. In other words, research in literature is becoming more and more interdisciplinary, or what I would like to call contradisciplinary, meaning it breaks the boundaries between literature and, let us say, sociology. It breaks the boundary between literature and philosophy. It breaks the boundary also between literature and science, or literature and technology. So today, it's common for many students to be, writing papers on, let us say, the Hunger Games, or J.K. Rowling's the Harry Potter series, and their research will still be considered literary enough. It will pass muster with the most hardcore researcher. So don't be surprised if you were to, if not in our university, in some other university, if you see an MA student submitting an assignment called with a title like The Hunger Games, a novel of power, violence, and survival, or maybe a student submitting a semester, a term paper, saying Margaret Atwood's A Handmaid's Tale, a feminist allegory. Well, these are movies which are there on your OTT platforms, and it will, like I said, it will pass the sanction of the most specialist research. So for an MS student, therefore, or a researcher, it is important to remember that when you set out to write your first semester assignment, when you begin to write your first research paper, it is the act of you asking questions that will guide you to the where and the how to look for ideas, arguments, and information. So let us say that that on studying that you're studying Shakespeare's sonnets in the literature class, and your teacher asks you to write an assignment on the topic. Once again, the key to flag off this project, to flag you off on this journey, would be for you to start with a good set of questions. What would be a good set of questions? Well, a good set of questions would not be what you see on the slide, but something simpler for you. It could be like, we're talking of Shakespeare sonnets. Your topic is Shakespeare sonnet. But then you need to be very specific about it, which means you need to repeat the same process that I described in my a few minutes back. So you might begin to ask questions, and what questions will set you off on a good research paper? Well, something like, what are the different types of love that Shakespeare examines or Shakespeare describes in his sonnets? So many sonnets, isn't it? So is it all? Is there a contrast or a conflict between these different types of love? Meaning, is there a conflict between, let's say, platonic love and physical love that Shakespeare, that these sonnets of Shakespeare portray? Or you could have another question. You could start your research journey by asking, how does the concept of time, how does time, for instance, affect Shakespeare's portrayal of love in his sonnets? Or you could choose to examine the use of metaphorical language. How does Shakespeare use metaphor and simile in portraying the emotion of love? And does he succeed in capturing the complexity of love as an emotion? Well, so taking up a bunch of questions, not just one, maybe a bunch of questions, is the first step, which will move you towards composing a good paper, writing a good assignment, because each of these questions, remember, one, each of them is specific and each of them is relevant. And so it is this asking question again, what I defined research as the art of asking question. It is that which will start you and make you write an interesting analysis of Shakespeare's sonnets. So you see, more often, if you then went on to become a serious researcher in the next 15 years or so, 15 years, I said, although you are a MA student, but I'm saying 15 years. Why? Because it has taken 450 years of scholarship on Shakespeare's sonnets, and still nobody is absolutely sure that who is the dark lady that Shakespeare mentions in his sonnets. 450 years of scholarship. And well, people are still clueless about who does the dark lady refer to by Shakespeare. So maybe you will crack this centuries-old riddle. So that's serious research for you, and good luck. If you do take this topic, good luck to you. More often than not, friends, good questions. This is the second thing that I wanted to point out, that good questions lead to good writing. The two of them are intricately related to each other. I'm saying asking good questions leads to writing good papers. Recently I read 2 papers on academic journals, and I mentioned this because I found what made me read those papers. They both were on Shakespeare, and the minute you read you came across the word Shakespeare in a research paper, you would think, oh no, not another paper on Shakespeare. Why? Because you thought that, well, you practically have read everything and all and everything about Shakespeare. What else is there new to find in a journal paper? But I read these papers because they had very interesting titles. One of them was a paper which was the mother of King Lear, Shakespeare's play, King Lear. In fact, I won't go into it. I won't play a spoiler. You have to read. Okay? But uh, in fact, there is no Queen Lear. There's no Queen to King Lear in Shakespeare's play. At least it's not mentioned in a very, very great way. So why this paper begins to investigate by asking this: why is mother Queen in King Lear in Shakespeare's? Or the second paper is even more interesting. How many children did Lady Macbeth lose? How many children did Lady Macbeth lose? I mean, all of us who have read Shakespeare, we've read Shakespeare, Macbeth in our BA or maybe master's course. Does Lady Macbeth have? Are there any direct references to Lady Macbeth having children in Shakespeare's play? The one that you may have studied? Well, not really. I take your silence to be profoundly interesting because it answers my question. So, it is examining. It is titles which give me questions such as this that makes me want to read and know what more can what is the new thing that these researchers have written about Shakespeare that I don't know yet. So, dear students and dear teachers who also are with us today, to read a couple of books like they're novels actually, like Hamnet, Hamnet, Hamnet. This work came out is by an Irish writer named Maggie O'Farrell. I think it came out in 2020 and went on to win a number of literary prizes. Hamnet. And the other one that I can recommend for students and teachers to read is J.P. Thorp's, Thorps. Oh, I think I have a slide on that. Yeah, there you are. J.P. Thorp's, Lear Wife. It's called Lear Wife. This is, by the way, a debut novel by this writer, and which fictionally tries to answer the question that many MA students ask in the class while reading King Lear. What happened to King Lear's wife, sir? Well, if you want to find answers, imaginative answers, fictional answers, here is a book. Or you could read something like on the third slide, A Thousand Acres by Jane Smiley, which again is a modern version of Shakespeare's King Lear. Anyway, so you see, as teachers, and this I say to our teachers today who are joined here with me, it's only when we allow for creativity to play a bigger role in the teaching and learning of literature that we will make our classrooms for our students worthwhile. It is only when we allow them, when we make them believe that doing research is not just criticism, but doing research is criticism and creativity together. It is only then that will help us and our students to explore literature, to deepen their understanding and appreciate it in much, much richer ways. All right. Some of you may actually identify the gentleman whose quote is there, research. It is Stephen Hawking, the very famous scientist. And it is he who says that research is a state of mind, willingness to go into unknown territory, like Hemingway's Santiago, the fisherman, the old fisherman who went out farthest into the seas in order to catch one big fish. So it is a willingness to go into an unknown territory, to ask questions that have never been asked before, or to answer questions in a new. This adds a new dimension. This definition by Hawking adds a new dimension to what I've already said, that research is the art of asking questions. What Hawking is saying is research, yes, is the art of asking questions, but it is also the art of answering questions in a new way. All right. All right. So these are some of the things that when we teach MA literature, these are the plays, novels, and some of the questions that might be taken up for discussion in the classroom, and all of them are I feel they all are researchable. Moving on, I've already said that how much of today's literary research is not just about literature, but it is all about in culture, science, technology, movies, comic books, advertisement, media, social media, etc., etc. So earlier, if you to many would define research as even literary research as something that is original. Well, you know, it's not really possible to write anything original anymore, at least on Shakespeare, well, on James Joyce or T.S. Eliot, because after all, you look at the time. You look at how much of work has already been done on these so-called canonical writers, these classical writers. So hundreds of theses, hundreds of monographs, thousands and thousands of books, and millions of articles have already been written on them. But then, does it mean that one cannot go back? One should not take these up for research? Well, one can actually go back to even the most canonical of writers like Shakespeare, and yet discover new perspectives, new dimensions, things that people have not just known about them, but things that people have not thought about them. So Shakespeare, for instance, I mean, I keep giving you examples from Shakespeare, but then I suppose that comes in handy. So if Shakespeare has been is no longer read and studied, is no longer taught and learned in literature classrooms. Um, in fact, his plays have been appropriated. His plays are being studied in disciplines that have nothing to do with literature. Let's say leadership and management studies, or peace studies and international relations. So, for instance, take a research title like "The Branding of the Bard," how Shakespeare can help you to innovate and sell, or something like Shakespeare and the Ethics of War. Today, there is a war going on, both the Ukraine war as well as the Palestine-Israel war going on. Hey, is Shakespeare's plays? Can Shakespeare's plays actually hold a message and bring about some peace and understanding in this conflict? It can, and it does many a times. So, those who say that, literary research is actually, it is useless, it has nothing to do with the real world, well, are again mistaken, especially to young students like you who feel that, why am I even doing literature? What is the purpose of studying for a paper called research methodology in English studies? Well, literature, you do read literature, and you do research on literature because it kind of refines our understanding. It helps us to find our path, our way forward through chaos and confusion. Think about how much when we were in lockdown during pandemic times, during the coronavirus times, how much of comfort and solace we found when we went back to reading literature. Anyway, yeah. Maybe you are a good writer. Maybe you have written so far a number of articles which have actually appeared in your college magazine. And you think, that, well, doing research is also writing another article. Well, not really, because there's a difference between a research paper and a college essay. You see, a college essay, when you wrote a college essay or an article for your college magazine, what you put on paper were your own thoughts and ideas on a particular topic. So what did you do? You probably Googled again, and you compiled a lot of information and facts and ideas that you found on the net, and then you presented them, not necessarily your own ideas, but compiled them and put them all together in presented it to your college editorial editors. So a research paper is certainly not a college essay. A research paper is a scholarly composition. What do I mean by a scholarly composition? Something in which you have contributed something new and original. But mind you, I've already qualified the use of the word original. Original means doesn't really mean something that has never been taught before, something that did not exist before, but a new dimension, a new perspective. So uh, to put it very simply, the difference between a college essay and a research paper is a college essay merely reproduces what is already known. The research paper, on the other hand, presents the discovery of something new and original, or it more often in literary research, it reorganizes previously known facts in a new way. There is another crucial difference between a college essay and a research paper. In a college essay, the student may take the help of, you do take the help of various resources, isn't it? Notes, Ramji Lal and Raghu guidebooks. And if you were a better student, maybe not in critical editions of texts and authors. But then when you refer to these sources, uh, do you acknowledge them? Do you mention that this is not my comment, this is not my paragraph. It's actually, I've taken it from Ramji Lal and Raghu Tilak, or even the Norton critical edition of A Tale of Two Cities. In a college essay, you're free to do that, and nobody is going to kill you for that. I mean, nobody is going to put you in the dock. As a student, you are free to use quotations, you're free to use ideas, you're free to use internet information without mentioning the sources. But then in a research paper, once you are a researcher and you're writing what you call a research paper, then you have to acknowledge every piece of information that you have gathered from various sources, both offline or online. And so, as a researcher, you must ensure that not only must you acknowledge the sources of your information, but you must also ensure that the sources of your information are reliable and authentic and not just Wikipedia entries. As I come to the last part, how to choose a research topic. Friends, research is something that has excited me and continues to excite me over a period of nearly 30 years of teaching and doing research. Uh, I always, even today, I feel the same thrill and the same excitement. When I start searching for my next research. How about you? How to choose a research topic for your presentation? By the way, in your paper 6, I don't know if your teachers have told you, if you look at the syllabus, there is a seminar presentation for your internal marks. Internal assessment is of 20 marks. Your theory paper will be of 80 marks, and your internal assessment is of 20 marks. And all of 20 marks are supposed to be on the basis of what you present in a seminar. And what do you need to present? Well, you need to present something that is research, that you have researched. You have to select a topic and you have to write following the steps that I have given you, as well as those who will follow the next few classes. You have to follow those steps to make your presentation researchable. All right, I'll come to that later. So, the very first thing that you need to do in order to earn those 20 marks is that you have to make a research presentation. So what do? You have to think of a topic. So what is a researchable topic? Well, the things that you see on your slide should be interesting. Well, it should be interesting not just to you, to the community of researchers, or to the community of your own community of your teachers in the college or in the university department and your fellow students. Remember, when you present, it shouldn't be moe moe. It should be it should be something that excites them to listen to you and say "Dil mange more." Okay, so it should be interesting. It should be original. Pretty qualify the word original. I won't dwell on it. It should be topical. Well, if you're thinking of, let us say, topical meaning You don't have to again go back to Shakespeare, although I have been talking only of Shakespeare most of the time. but your next research paper need not be on a Jane Austen or a Bronte, one of the Bronte sisters, or a Dickens or Hardy or Eliot. It could be something like what? Like like a paper, like a research paper on the hero in the movie Animal, and the heroes in contemporary Indian novels, recent Indian novels. Something that is, here is a topic that is contemporary, that has produced so much of controversy. I'm talking about the movie Animal that has produced so much of controversy, right? And so you can take this by doing a kind of a comparison with the portrayal of the hero in the movie Animal with um, heroes in recent Indian fiction, Indian English fiction, maybe. All right. So, um, so if you know, should be original, should be better, should be feasible. Remember, you probably have to write a paper and present it in a seminar in 2 weeks' time. So you really have just about 14 days to go. So choose a topic which is possible for you to do some good work in 14 days, rather than taking up a topic that might actually put you to sleep and to bed. And check if the topic is already researched. This is interesting. Um, okay. So, in other words, remember what I said, that a research is different from a college essay because it has to have a literature review. I said one of the elements of this, out of the 7 elements of research, one of them is doing a literature review. So, if research therefore is asking the right question, then an important part of that inquiry is to ask about the history of the topic. How did the topic come into being? How has it been? How has the same topic that you are writing on or researching on? How has it been treated over a period of time? How is the topic categorized today? What are the different takes, or what are the different positions on that topic, etc., etc. So trust me that if you were an MA student in the IITs, you probably would be encouraged take up a topic on digital humanities, which is basically established, which is based on the relationship between technology and the study of literature, using digital tools in order to understand literature in a better way. So this mediation of technology in literature is what digital humanities. And why in the IITs? Well, you know what IITs are. So, um, so asking and finding about the topic, your topic, the history of your topic, and its present status is what literature review is all about. And friends, there can be no research. We cannot call anything research in literature if there is no literature review. All right. So what remains for you to? This is only a kind of a overview of what I want, what is research and in general, and what is literary research in particular. But then these are some of the areas that I would want you to look up from that book, a handbook of literary research. These are some of these topics are arranged chapter wise and topic wise uh, in that book. Do look them up. And I say it meaning that these are the topics that are important. The minute I say important, let me also add, get your attention back by saying that, it's important from the exam point of view. Or what are the topics? Well, types of research. The textbook, the handbook on research it explains to you what are the different types of research, qualitative, quantitative. It tells you the difference between skill, methods, and methodologies, etc. So these are some of the topics that you need to read and study from that book. Make sure that you do that if you want to do well in your paper. And you go. The final bit here, of course, the final slide is what I've just put up there, much to your relief, maybe. But then let us say that Tomorrow your teacher, immediately after my session, your teacher gives you, asks you to write a research paper in 1,000 words on Shakespeare's play, maybe the play that you are doing. And the deadline is for submission is 2 weeks. So what do you do and where do you begin? How will you begin? Well, I suppose those of you who are very technologically advanced, you might choose to go the easy way out. What is the easy way out? The easy way out is to Google and find material information, or if you're superbly technologically advanced, then you may perhaps go to ChatGPT or any other AI tool and ask you to write the assignment in seconds. But by doing so, you would have merely proved that your IQ is less than AI. Your intelligent quotient is less than that of artificial intelligence. And what it will do is to shut down your idea-making factory. Your brain is an idea-making factory. So please don't shut it down by copying from the net. So in the case of research, somebody said that if you steal from one writer, it's plagiarism. Plagiarism to copy. If you steal from one writer. And if you steal from many, it's research. Well, that somebody is stupid. And don't be dumb enough to follow that smart Alec. As an MA student, friends, let me tell you that as you're preparing for your exams and as you're preparing to write your first research-based assignment or to make that seminar presentation, do not make, the worst mistake that you can do is to steal somebody else's ideas and not acknowledge it in your assignment, your paper. And if you do so, you are guilty of what we call plagiarism. And that it is plagiarism or copying somebody's ideas and passing it off as yours is unethical. So ethics and plagiarism is also a part of your research paper. Please go through that chapter. There is a section on it and read it. Because the one thing that I don't want you to do is to cheat. So please don't. And finally, what is the best advice? What is my parting shot or my best advice on research to use the students? Well, the best advice is no advice. It is, or maybe I should say it in this way. It's always choose a subject close to your heart. The subject of your research, I mean, right? Choose a subject that is close to your heart. By that, I mean you must write a paper that you are able to write. Also, which means when I say that you must be able to you must write a paper that you are able to write. Don't take too big a subject. Don't take too narrow a subject, but take a subject that will draw your interest, that will make it possible for you to write it in 10 days' time and make a very good presentation for your 20 marks internal assessment. So remember also that your research paper, the one that you're going to write, is like your first love. And we know what first loves are. We never forget our first loves, isn't it? So it will be writing your first research paper.
बहुत कम समय है यार, बहुत कम. मेरा 24 का पेपर है बाहर. काय का है, कौन सा ये नहीं बता सकती. तो 24 का
feedback. So writing your first research paper or making your seminar presentation will be your first serious academic work. And that is not a small thing. So a big clap in advance for you students. All the very best and God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. I request my friend, Dr. Madhavi Moharil, to formally propose a vote of thanks from my side. Thank you so much.
Online class today live.
Students, participants, please mute yourself. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for engaging such a very informative and insightful session on
दो पेपर नहीं उसकी बुक है, नहीं कुछ है. It's new.
Of research. Dear students, please keep yourself mute. Sir said that journey of research begins with putting up right questions to get right answers. It is an art of asking precise questions. He emphasized on an inquisitive approach on the part of the researchers. He discussed 4-step process to finalize the topic of research and deliberated on fundamental elements of research. He explained what is literary research in detail. With various interesting examples, Sir covered all the significant aspects of research. Yes, research is a scholarly conversation. Sir, the session will be definitely very useful to the participants to proceed and enter into the world of research. On behalf of host institutions, I express a sense of gratitude to you, sir,